Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to pick on Tracy first. So, Tracy, how has your confidence in using technology shifted during lockdown, would you say?
It's definitely improved. I think having that forced time to stop and actually play around with it and try different things has been really great. And when we're on the wheel, sometimes it's hard to stop and learn new things because you're busy trying to keep up with everything, So it's been really good. Yeah.
Brilliant. And did you do it because you had to or because you wanted to?
A bit of both, really. I mean, there was a necessity there because of what obviously happened, but also an interest. Like it was good. I actually enjoyed it.
Brilliant, thank you. And how about you, Steph? That you did a few things that were a bit different. Would you say that your confidence has boosted a wee bit?
Certainly. I feel a lot more ready to try out new things. And it was wonderful working alongside with Trace because her enthusiasm and particularly in setting up that hub that we've made for the juniors was really extended my knowledge and skills, and Trace's passion for IT was a wonderful learning tool for me too. Yeah.
Brilliant, beautifully said. Because I mean, what I'm picking up, not just from you guys, but from other schools, is that while on the one end we've got social distancing, what I've seen happening is professional, collaboration and coming together, even though we're on screen. So well done for that. How about you, Liz? Would you say your confidence has shifted a bit?
Yeah, I feel like I've really learned a few basic new skills that are really going to be useful and enable me to do things at home, from home, which is really a good use of time. And I found being able to communicate on a really intimate level with the children without them being distracted was great for them and great for me. So yeah, I feel like we made some nice steps.
Well done. Cool. And how about you, Chris?
I kind of feel like I cheated in this because I think at the beginning, I think I was on the stage, you don't know what you don't know. And listening to you guys talk, it's like, gosh, I never even thought about that. Gosh, I never even thought about that. And it's been interesting to watch. I feel like, kind of like Steph said, I feel like I've learned from Tracy, watching her put together Google Forms and surveys and stuff. And it's like, gosh, I never even thought about that, but I can see how to do it. And now I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Just sitting back and watching.
Yeah.
So little things like that have now highlighted, gosh, I didn't even think about that before, but now not only do I know about it, but I actually know how to do it too, just through osmosis, I guess would be the word.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris. So I'm not going to ask Nick or Sarah about their confidence because it's already through the roof, and they do know everything, as we all acknowledge.
Sarah, Google Classroom expert, far more superior than I am. But I just want to add on from my perspective, Martin, in terms of working with a PLD provider and you, is what it's highlighted to me is the importance of doing the PD with people and not to people, and providing those opportunities for connection. And that doesn't happen at 3:15 on a Monday. It doesn't happen at. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I mean, it's actually being able to make those connections within staff, like Chris and Trace have just highlighted and Steph have just highlighted as well, but the importance of how that PD is facilitated and managed as a school.
Absolutely.
That's from my perspective something that's extremely highlighted, something I really want to push when we sort of get back, is that we don't, it needs to be purposeful and meaningful and all that other stuff.
I mean, as well, it was great doing this learning because we needed to, because it was relevant, because it was part of our actual teaching practice as well, which is, you always have a lot more enthusiasm and passion for something that you're learning when you're implementing it at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and thanks for that. And also what you were saying, Nick, when it comes to children, there's no doubt that any teacher would agree that the teaching and learning has to be relational. It has to be trust-based. It has to have a purpose. But somehow we forget about that when we're dealing with teachers who are adults. We're all just degraded children And the same strategies that work for teaching children work for teaching adults. So thanks for drawing attention to that, Nicola. You've always got an eye on the strategy and the big picture, which is crucial in these sort of, in every aspect of change management, which is really what we're looking at here. So I'm going to ask Chris, the next question is what your biggest surprise was. So Chris, what would you, and if you don't have one, that's absolutely fine, but what was the biggest surprise that you came across?
I'm trying to think if this is a surprise or not, because I've picked it up already, but no matter how much detail you can put into something, or like in the instructions or the order of the list of what you want to get done, people just don't actually read it. They kind of scan through it real quick, but then, and I think it's the same with stuff that you send home to parents, probably, well, I know that stuff that gets sent to me, you kind of scan it. But you really need to, when we're dealing with, I guess, with distance learning or online learning, not only send it out, but then you still need to have that conversation to make sure that everybody is still on, well, everybody is still is reading it and understanding what you're asking and what you want them to achieve.
Because you're absolutely right, Chris, because if it was true that everyone read every instruction and it was all perfect, we wouldn't need teachers. So any teacher that could be replaced by a machine probably deserves to be. Yeah. Cool, good point. Liz, what was your biggest surprise, would you say?
That it is possible to actually teach in a small group online, face-to-face, and to actually make traction and get somewhere. And that little children can do it and learn and engage. So that was great.
Fantastic. Thank you. And how about you, Steph? Did you have a big surprise?
I'm just trying to think. I was surprised at how much the children responded, engaged with the learning activities that were being put up, but also the way we were able to include a parent voice through the survey forms that we popped out. I think that was really valuable feedback that we were getting from what we were doing. So yeah, that was a real bonus, I think, for us and what we were doing.
Absolutely stunning. So your actions and planning were informed by feedback, responsive feedback. Yeah, so ticking lots and lots of boxes there. Well done. Cool. How about you, Trace?
Well, probably the same as Steph there, and just the whole communication side of it with the survey, but also the phone calls we made to parents. Right. How important that communication is, but the most powerful thing was having the one-on-one conversations with parents and getting, just where they were at. It gave you a lot more indication. One little other surprise I found, I worked out how to, and I know I did it the long way, Martin, but make little movies with the photos that the kids sent in. So I made little iMovies and put them on the Class Dojo so they could see their friends, and they really loved it, being able to see that, and it actually motivated them, because after the video would come out, then you'd get more photos sent through and more links of, you could see views and go, oh yeah. So that's kind of like a little bit of competition, I suppose, in a way.
Fantastic. That's buy-in. That's connection. Well done. Yeah. How about you, Nick? Biggest surprise?
Do you know that, Chris, what you were saying, you don't know what you don't know? I thought I was a pretty good user of Google Classroom. I genuinely did. But what I found is the actual response rate that I'm able to feed back to the kids is highlighted, is easier using these tools. And it's something that you transfer back. I should have been doing 2 years ago. But like voice recording feedback, finally got around to organising. The biggest surprise for me was the connect that you got with those kids coming back. And I think it's a testament to the relationship that you've built, but also, I mean, the adaptive challenge of shifting to distance learning is huge. It was massive, even for me, and I thought I was pretty okay with this kind of thing, but maintaining that connect was huge. And then feeding back to me, saying, oh, you forgot to say such to me. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
Brilliant. Well done. And Sarah?
I think for me, it's kind of a surprise, but it's also a bit of you kind of a realization at how ready the students are to take ownership of their own learning, and working alongside them more than working more teacher led. They were so adaptable to that, and they wanted to be there. You could see that the kids were engaged, and that surprised me as well at how engaged the students were, but also how well they managed themselves and the initiative they used and the agency they had for their own learning. And I think they really responded to that. And for me, now it's like, actually, we need to build on that when we get back to the classroom, because they're ready. If you had asked me, are they ready? I would have been, before this, I would have been, oh, I'm not sure. But actually, they had to be, so they were. I mean, even simple things, like I was doing a literacy lesson and I was asking the kids questions, and obviously I couldn't see them because I was on Google Meet. But then I had one child who just said, oh, actually, there's heaps of answers in the chat, and he started reading them out to me. And so that was just initiative. I never asked him to do that, and he kind of just became the PA saying, oh, blah, 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 said this. And I thought, that's us all working together, isn't it?
Yeah.
He saw that, and he knew I couldn't see that, so he just got up and did it. So for me, it's been really cool to see at the level that the kids can work at independently and intrinsically motivated, which is what we want for our learners. So that's been cool.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. So one of the things I'm noticing from all that you're saying, it sort of correlates with something that I repeat quite a bit, and that is that technology just amplifies. So if I'm a terrible teacher, using technology is just going to amplify how awful I am. And what I'm hearing from you is that you were great teachers beforehand. You had great relationships with your children beforehand, and your careful use of technology has amplified that and got results that you're feeling justifiably really happy about. So well done. Next question is your biggest success. So who would like to go first, Sarah?
I think my biggest success was probably how well my class managed to use Google Classroom constructively, because I did do things like leave the stream open and I left the Google Meet link up just to see what they would do with that. And 98% of the time it was really spot on. There was one incident, a go away incident. So apart from that, they did use it, and my hope was that they would use it to connect and collaborate, and they did. So that was really, really cool. So I think for me, that they did that on their own, where I would check in every so often, and it'd be a group of kids working together on something on that, for me was like, great. That's kind of what I wanted them to do, and they did it. So that was
brilliant.
And they were supportive to each other on the stream. And
you've got a high trust environment. That's priceless, especially at your year level. So well done.
Yeah. Thank you. That was cool.
Cool. Trace.
I guess when you guided us at the start about ensuring, because I was thinking, oh, how are we going to do this with the 5-year-olds, and you guided us with the asynchramatic way of providing teaching for them, and it gave them flexibility to do it in their time. So we certainly upskilled in a lot of ways with that. On top of that, I loved our little website that we made, the little hub, and had some really good feedback about that. And kids parents are clicking in and using it, and children we don't have to guide them to do it. They're choosing what they want, and it's so easy. And we added a thing for Mother's Day so that it was right on the front of the page, and they were taking that off.
Right.
Trying to keep it up, keep it updated for them, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that was a really good success, I felt. Yeah.
Great. Well done. Cool. And Steph, I remember there was a magical little moment. It was at the end of one of our meetings, and you were talking about your first event with reading. You were recording reading a book to your kids.
Yeah, I was really nervous about it, and I was not at all happy with it. But anyway, we got much better, and I was lucky because my husband has been working from home as well, so he was able to do lots of videoing, and And once you start, I think it just gives you that confidence to carry on. And however, it did have its challenges, because we would see something that was actually my teaching point, and then he'd be butting in. So we had a bit of a domestic over that one. Yeah, but I think for the children, I know that how much they appreciated being able to see the face and have the books read along with them, so that then they could carry on and do the reading independently afterwards, which was really cool for them. Yeah,
Brilliant.
some success in what they were doing at home as well.
Great. Well done, Steph. And how about you, Liz?
Well, at the beginning, when we met with you, you put me straight about our age group, not expecting that we'd have great success with big Google Meets, and I realised what you meant quickly, because it's quite a big deal for them to be turning on and off their microphone and everything. And so after those first 3 days of them all getting to grips, and you recommended that we have those first 3 days getting used to getting themselves on and managing themselves while they were on, and having their pen and paper, and just all simple steps that sound tiny but were steps for them. And you suggested that after that we go into groups, and that was really good advice, because I found that when the second language, it took the second language families a considerable, way more steps for them to be able to understand how to join in a little group each day. And once we got over their specific hurdles, they were then there in the room with me in a way that they wouldn't have been in class, and they never will be. They'll never be coming in, but they were coming into their children's learning digitally. And that was the most amazing advice, really, because these parents were sitting next to them and looking at me and talking to me in a way that won't get replicated again unless we use Google Meet again, which is really cool to know that they probably may decide that they will have a parent-teacher meeting with me, but they won't come to the school for it. So those were really, I felt really like that I had really grown in my as a professional by realizing that I would never have before lockdown, that we can get good connections with these parents, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on site. Yeah.
That's stunning, Liz. Absolutely amazing. And if I haven't done so already, remind me afterwards to show you how in a Google Meet you get captions down the bottom, and they can be translated into any language in the world. So if you've got ESOL parents who might be Vietnamese, whose child maybe speaks better English than they do, everything that you're saying will appear in Vietnamese down the bottom. So we'll come back to that. I've got your attention, I can see. Chris, what would your biggest success be?
I was thinking of something different, and then I'll just add on to what Liz said about the ones that were struggling. I'm like, how like even just to log into Classroom or join the video call, and I go, what am I going to do to help these kids? And then being able to then troubleshoot it by using Screencastify or something like that to actually make a video and take them step by step on how to do it, and they could watch me do it and then send it off to them. And then within 5 or 10 minutes, they pop up in the chat, and you go, "What? It really worked." So that was really cool. But then also, I think as a team, I was kind of worried about how we were going to cover all the curriculum areas. But through being able to access either online material or PDFs or whatever it might be, the weekly assignments that we put together covered so much of the curriculum, way more than you can cover in a week at school, and because the kids could access it whenever they wanted. So I really enjoyed coming up with tasks each week to cover the curriculum, and being able to see instantly when they're sharing back and forth, taking a picture and sharing it with you, or uploading it into their document, and you can comment in real time. And it is so quick that you're doing so much in such a short amount of time with so many different things.
Great, thanks, Chris. So the next question is a voluntary one, and that is your biggest mistake. or your biggest learning moment. So I just, if no one wants to do this, this is fine. But if they did, it might give us all a bit of a giggle.
Well, your mic worked, Nick. Nick.
See, that's my biggest mistake. I do that all the time. Yeah, I do. I leave myself on mute. Do you know what? I don't know if it was maybe a flaw of mine, but what it highlighted to me is when I'm setting myself up at the start of the year and I'm introducing the kids into Google Classroom, and I've had this conversation with Sarah and Michelle, I didn't take the time to set it up. I didn't take long enough to set it up. I just kind of assumed the kids would know how to do it. So that first sort of couple of days, establishing like classroom norms and Google Meet norms and things like this suddenly highlighted to me what I assumed the kids knew and they actually didn't. So for me, actually stepping back and going back, and my first 2 Google Meet sessions were on how to use Google Classroom, it was like, oh, wow, why haven't I done this sooner? This would have been even in class, and somebody said to me, oh, have you, do you think Google Classroom is something you could use when you come back to school? And I said, I've been using Google Classroom for about 5 years, but what I've done is actually improved my practice and really improved my connect. So it was a mistake, but there was a silver lining to it. Aside from
brilliant. That's great, Nick. Thanks for your honesty. And that's, I mean, the mistake is to learning, so it's a learning. But yeah, has anyone else got anything like that?
Yeah, I think for me, we use Seesaw a lot, but it's a sort of, it evolves, throughout the year, their skill, and so the year 4s can happily pick one up and run with it and do whatever and completely independently upload everything. But the year 3s hadn't been given opportunity to develop the skills so that they were independently getting on with that at home. And so there were some little steps for them that could easily, if I had known about lockdown, I would have ensured they were fully ready to go, like you say, Nick. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe one more little stumble would we have between us, or
we did. I guess Steph, you'd probably agree. At the beginning, we kind of went too big for the parents, and they were feeling quite overwhelmed. So we tried to put so much out there. We thought, oh, they might want this and this and this, but it just all became too much. And throughout the lockdown, we worked out a way to put everything into one doc and just made it accessible, quick and easy, and pared back a bit, so it was a bit more manageable for the parents. I think they were feeling quite overwhelmed and just trying to get their heads around, Yeah,
I kind of second that too. And it was just a simple thing of splitting that document that you were just talking about, the weekly assignments, into going, here are 3 things that you need to do every day, and all the rest of this can be worked on throughout the week. But when they just look at it all on this page, you go, whoa, look at all that stuff. But then when you split it up, and then they go, oh, actually, okay, that's not too bad.
Great. Good. So second last question is, hypothetically, if you were to give some advice to the leadership team of a school that was just about to go into lockdown for the first time ever, what top sort of couple of things, and this is not about you or your team, this is about the whole school and how a school is run. So if you could wave a magic wand and come up with 2 or 3 things that you would really like the leadership of a school to understand before going into a lockdown, who would have some ideas on that?
I think I kept. Oh, sorry. Go, Steph.
No, you go, and I'll follow on.
Oh, I was just going to say mine was short and sweet. I said less is best. Like just manageable and simple, and communication being really important.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
And I was just going to say about having a consistent platform so that parents aren't going from Seesaw to Dojo to Google Classrooms. I think that we didn't have the time, but in hindsight, it would have been really useful, I think, for the families, for us as staff, and it would have been really good to just have that one consistent platform. Yes.
Cool. Thanks, Steph.
Thanks.
Sorry, Chris.
So I think I'd make sure that they were what's the word, realistic about the expectations. Yes, we provide the stuff. The school provide the stuff, but you got to be realistic about the reality of what's going on in people's households every day. Both parents could be working from home, 2 or 3 kids sometimes. You've got to be understanding that it's not going to work for everybody, and you've got to be realistic about the expectations. Is what I found, and set that bar from the top and say, look, from the top of the school, the leader of the school, the management of the school, we completely understand what situation some of you might be in, so don't pressure yourselves to push it.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
I think also is, and sorry, I had kids in here just 2 seconds ago, so I might have missed this, is just know your learners, know what they're capable of, and don't drop your expectations, just change them a little bit. So still cater for them, but do it in that must do, can do way. So actually, yes, those students that want to just go crazy and work all day, they've got all these things to do, but actually have a set few things that, it'd be great if you could do, and just scaffold it to suit the children in your class as well. And also give them time frames and actually explain to them what's going on in your house. Say, like I know my children knew, but I've got 3 children as well. So actually, if you need me and you want to meet with me or you need a lesson or whatever, I'm here 9 to 12. But after that, if you email me, I might not email you till later on, or I might not get back to you tomorrow morning because I've got a life. And just really but not assuming that they know that. Making sure that the whānau and the students understand that. Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. Cool. Nick, you got anything?
Well, I completely agree with everything everybody said. For me, what I would think would be make sure that you are managing a work stream, or if we're going down the digital fluency pathway, making sure we've actually got that nailed first before we try and introduce something else. I think that's been really, really highlighted to me, how it's almost that less is more, do it well. So if you want to be well prepared, fully commit to this. And I kind of think a little bit with the way the ministry came on board and said, right, let's make this PD available for these teachers. This PD, they offered every school in the country 5 days worth of digital fluency PD like this. They really came on board and realised that this is an incredible challenge. It's a big change, and they fully supported us with that. And because nobody knew that this was going to happen, but going into it, I think it would be looking at the big picture, really identifying what we actually need right now. What do you actually need right now? What do you really need to know in terms of enhancing your practice? So that was
cool.
my thanks with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Probably just got one question for the ministry. I don't know why we ended up with Hangouts, which is Google Meets, which is fine, but I got very sick of not being able to see the children. And especially when we then last week had a DMIC meeting and we were in this Zoom, and I've never done that before, where you get put into separate rooms. And I was saying to Nicola how much I really thought that was efficient in a staff meeting. Particularly, we were managing things in different rooms, and I don't know why we did settle for Google Meet in the end. I know
you're missing the grid view. Is that what you're saying? Is it the grid view that you didn't have?
No, and when you're in Zoom, you can set up different work rooms. So you can
I know that. Yeah.
I think that's what Liz is talking about.
I really did like that as well, but I couldn't with the grid view. My children weren't all on grid view, so they weren't.
Okay.
When you share a document with them, and so they're on your screen, when they're looking at your screen,
I'm with you.
But even on grid view on Google Meet, you still can't have all your kids on that grid view. It still doesn't work.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work.
Some that even though it says you can, I've never had that work yet.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Are there any other last bits that people might like to add, just in terms of reflection or celebration, or things that they've pondered or thought of? Sarah.
One thing for me that I'm super excited about is that, and I hope it's happening, well, I think it's happening within us as a school, but it's highlighted the way that technology can be used to assist learning. And I hope that, because there's still this the stigma. There certainly is at our school that we shouldn't be using devices every day and all of this kind of thing. And I just hope that the parents are seeing how we can use devices to enrich our learning experiences, not instead of learning, or and I do think that that's happening, and I think having this time where we've had to predominantly rely on the use of devices a lot of the time, that the kids can also, that it's extended their knowledge around that as well, and they can see that actually it's a tool to help us, not the be all and end all. And I think that this time is stepping us in the right direction for that understanding, hopefully.
Cool. Lovely.
The understanding and setting up of parameters around it, isn't it? That technology is a tool. It's not the one and only way. It is to help us with learning, and people get a misconstrued understanding of thinking that it's all technology, you know?
But also that as 21st century learners, it's not something that we do some days and not other days. It's actually part of the pedagogy. It's part of how we teach and the culture in our class. And if we're doing a piece of work and someone thinks, actually, I need to go and get my computer because I want to have a look at this, that's actually okay. But it's building that up within our school and within our own classrooms and our own syndicates as to what that looks like, because that's actually life. And as it's, and we need to prepare our students for that and to use that appropriately. Yeah.
Yes, that parameter. Safe using.
I completely agree.
I'll just leave you with one wee thought. So our Prime Minister has been acknowledged across the planet as having handled this and communicated things around this situation exceptionally well, possibly, you know, it's arguably best on the planet. So lots of professional organizations who are into public relations and communications and all that sort of stuff have done that in recent weeks. And they've boiled it down into 3 things that she does. So the first one is direction giving. The second one is...
What was the first one?
Direction giving, so signaling a direction. The second one is meaning making. And the third one is empathy. So that is what you guys do every moment of every day. You've just been doing it a wee bit differently in terms of using a screen. And you should feel really, really proud of yourselves that you've been demonstrating the same skills, the same attributes, the same behaviors as our Prime Minister, who's you know, on top of the world right now in terms of how she's gone about managing a really, really, really challenging situation. So you should all feel very, very proud of yourselves. Not getting too cocky, Sarah.
Stop picking on me, Martin.
I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you.
There's always room for growth, Martin. There's always room for growth.
Now, here's the thing. I forgot at the start just to ask you to introduce yourselves. I sort of semi-forgot and semi-didn't want to do it because it's just an awkward start to a Google Meet. So if you wouldn't mind doing it, not now, but in a minute, and then I'll just splice it on to the start of the video and I'll edit out a few wee bits. So it'll really just be your name, your year level, and the school, or your position in the school, if you're Senko or something like that. So, Steph.
Hey, just before I start doing that, Martin, I just want to say how lucky we were to have had that working relationship already established with you. And it's very easy to say, for you to understand what our needs were, and you had all of these really cool ideas that Tracy, luckily, is really great at picking up technology straight away and making it all work together. So, yeah, so thank you for that.
Thanks for that, Steph.
No worries. No worries. It was, you really helped to deliver the learning for us, for the, and
cool.
Okay, so I'm Steph at St. Joseph's. I teach a Year 1 class in the Junior Syndicate.
Cool. Sarah.
My name is Sarah. I teach at St. Joseph's School, Nelson, in the intermediate, and I'm the team leader of the intermediate.
Cool. And Liz?
I'm Liz. I'm Year 3/4 team leader at St. Joe's.
Cool. And Chris?
Hello, I'm Chris. I'm the syndicate leader of the Year 5/6 syndicate at St. Joseph's in Nelson.
Perfect. And Nicola?
Kia ora, I'm Nicola. I am the DP at St Joseph's in Nelson, and I teach year 7 and 8.
Fabulous. And Tracy, who's on mute, but soon won't be. Good.
Hi, I'm Tracy, and junior syndicate leader at St Joseph's School. So we've got a new entrant teacher, team of year 0s up to year 2s.
Stunning. Brilliant. Thank you so much to everyone. I've really, really enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed working with you, not just in the last couple of weeks, but last year or 2 or 3, whatever it has been. And I'll see you all very soon. I'll be seeing you soon. Chris, I see you booked something for next week, so we can rip into those things that you were raising.
And we're seeing you tomorrow morning.
Oh, great.
Yeah. We took the first to last slot on Thursday.
Cool.
I didn't want to do anything on Friday.
Long weekend.
Cool. All right. Look, thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you all very soon. Thanks for your time, your effort, your
Thank you,
professional.
Martin.
Bye. Bye. Hey, Trace.
Oh, yeah. Lucky I just about